it is typical to describe Farhan Akhtar as one of the most talented actor, singer, filmmaker. But so typical and cliched is that description that I fear that Farhan himself is bored of it. So I'm not going to use that cliche.
Very smartly done.
I'm just going to welcome him. Hello.
Thank you, man.
And joining him, of course, the very pretty and talented Aditi Hydari. Thank you so much for joining us for this exclusive interaction with India.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, first thing first.
Yeah.
Wazir, Amitabh Bachchan is on board. Vidhu Vinod Chopra is on board.
Bijoy Nambiar is on board.
He is on board, and you are on board. But what did it take for you to be on board, apart from these elements?
Actually, the elements of Mr. Bachchan, in all honesty, came a little bit later. I think he was obviously on the wish list of Mr. Vidhu Vinod Chopra and of Abhijit Joshi, the writer, and of Bijoy, the director. But when they met me, it wasn't still confirmed whether he was on the film or not. But I was completely blown away by the script. It's truly it's entertaining, it's engaging, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, it makes you cry. There are parts where you find yourself smiling like a fool. There's many things that happen in this film, and of course there's a lot of heart in the story. And when Vidhu had called me and said he wanted me to do it, he told me it's like a thriller genre film. So I was expecting that, I was expecting pace, the whodunit, there'll be chases, there'll be action, which I was excited about. But I did not expect the kind of emotional depth that there is in the story, and I found myself moved tremendously at many points in the film. And then there's that aspect of it, and then of course there's this character of Danish Ali, which has a great tangent through the whole film. So there was no reason to have any doubts of saying yes, and I was pretty much on from the very first time that I heard it.
Aditi, what about you?
I in fact didn't know that Farhan or Mr. Bachchan were in this film. I went through various trials by fire. I did a couple of tests, which included a dance test, which for me is not a test. But anyway, so I did a couple of those. I knew Bijoy was making this film. In fact, at that time I didn't even know the story. I just did the tests because I know Bijoy's work and I admire his work. And Bijoy told me that Mr. Chopra is the producer. And then the screen test was shown to Mr. Chopra, and then I was called in, and then I was told the story and the character and everything. And I was like, okay, that sounds really amazing. And they said, okay, so we'll keep you posted. And then sure enough, I got this call, and then I was told that Farhan and Mr. Bachchan were in this film that I was going to be a part of, and it was one of those moments, like Tere Bin, where time stands still. It was like one of those moments for me. It was just amazing, and I remember that moment so vividly. It was just it was like a dream come true kind of thing.
Quite interestingly, I was talking to her over the phone, and she told me, I asked her, working with Farhan Akhtar is an interesting prospect itself, but working with him, did he kind of direct you as well? Do directorial skills of his kick in? Do they?
No, not necessarily. No, not at all. No.
I mean, see, the thing. Understand this.
I mean, the fact is that every actor, regardless of whether they've directed in the past or not, the majority of actors that even I've worked with, whether they're as co-actors or whether they're people I've directed, don't have direction as their history, in terms of something that they've done. But all of them are equally as involved, in the storytelling. All of them are equally as involved in what they want to do with their character. All of them are equally as involved in terms of how they'd like to play a scene out. And that really is what filmmaking should be about. It cannot be one person telling you exactly what to do. It doesn't work like that. You have to collaborate. You have to come to some kind of creative consensus, where everybody sees the scene, sees the film, sees the story exactly the same way. Yes, there is the final authority in terms of whose larger vision you're trying to follow, which is the director's vision and the writer's vision. But you will always voice what you're feeling, and if you have any suggestion, you will always give it. And I've been it sounds weird to say the receiving end of, because there's a slightly negative connotation to that. But I've always been accepting of it, from actors, because I feel it is crucial that you work with people who contribute. You don't want to work with somebody who'll just come and say, "Acha, scene kya hai aaj? Acha, ye wala scene. Tu kahan par khada? Acha, wahan par. Okay."
It's mechanical.
What kind of fun is that, to work with someone? You want someone who's thought about the scene, visualized it in their own way, made notes, and come, because then you feel like, everyone's creative juices are kind of flowing, and that's when it becomes special. So I don't hold back, but it's not the reason that because I've directed in the past, it's because I feel that that's my responsibility as an actor on a film.
But for the betterment of the project, of course.
But yeah, all suggestion comes from that wish that you're trying to improve it in some way, or contribute in your own way. And at times, you can also come up with completely random decisions or like suggestions that the director is like, let's just stick to the scene. Like, good point. And you head back. So that does happen too. But you don't want to you don't want to stop that, because in all honesty, a good suggestion or a good idea, and I don't mean this only from the actors, it could come from your director of photography, it could come from your art director, it could come from the person choreographing your action or your song. It can come from anywhere. So as a director, in all honesty, you have to keep your ears and your mind open.
Right. Mr. Bachchan is a huge draw of this film as well.
Of course.
How different the experience was as opposed to you directed him in Lakshya, and now you are acting right alongside him.
Yeah.
So Mr. Bachchan, while you were directing him and now you are acting with him.
The thing is that he is the same. His commitment then and his commitment now is exactly the same. I don't see it. It's not waned even 1%. Or his enthusiasm for his work. It's 10 years now, 11 years. But for me, the experience is different, because as a director, your interaction with an actor is different than when you're working with them as a co-actor. My responsibilities to him were different, to create an environment in which he can perform freely, at the way he'd like to create the mood on set for him, to be able to do what he has to do. And there's a responsibility of kind of taking care of a person that you have now as a director, to shelter them so that they can only think about their role. Apart from that, of course, then I had 20 odd other actors every single day on set. There were very few scenes where he was just alone, at any given point on Laksh. So you have to divide your time with all those actors. Then there's the cameraman, and then there's the army, and then, there's lots of things going on. And in between shots, so in between setups, you're, as a director, preparing for your next setup. So you don't get time to really sit and talk to people who you'd like to.
Right.
But on this film I had that opportunity because Bijoy was doing that job. So I had a lot of time in the middle of setups and of shots where I could sit and actually speak to him about stuff that I would have loved to have spoken to him otherwise, but this was an opportunity to do it.